Hello! Hi there, everyone. I had to get out my antlers. These are my antlers. How are you doing today? Maybe I should do this, what do we think? Does this looks more festive, right? I think. I don't know. Hi, dear. That's a good one. So someone just said hi dear, but spelled the way that people spell deer, like the animal, and not like to address a person. Elk antlers. These are reindeer antlers. Honestly though, don't ask me the difference between different horned animals. My sister is an animal scientist, and I made a podcast episode about different animals, so maybe I should ask her the difference between a reindeer and an elk. Is anyone here celebrating any holidays? Maybe you celebrate Christmas, New Year, or a different holiday around this time. I have some thematic vocabulary today that is kind of to talk about the holidays in general. A lot of English-speaking countries celebrate Christmas, and so it's very useful to understand the words people might use to talk about Christmas and their culture. But also, you might be able to use these words in other situations too. This is a good question though. What is the best method ever to make B1 students speak English better? So when you are B1, you are starting to be able to express your ideas in the present, the past. You can kind of find the words to express yourself. I would say though, in order to get to a higher level, a lot of exposure to the language is necessary. You need to listen to a lot of content in English in order to get more of the bigger picture, how to make more complex sentences. So kind of going beyond the basics. I would say that's really, as a teacher, I try to connect students with real content in English, and that's one of the best ways. Another thing, I would say challenging you to speak more in the past tense and challenging you to use would and start to use some of these structures that you might be scared of as a B1 student. I think those two things. So I used this same topic with my students on Friday, and so I thought it would be good for them if you guys are back here to practice more the same topic, because of course it's difficult to only see a word once and then learn it automatically. So if you are one of my students that was in the class on Friday, feel free to chime in. To chime in is it's a phrasal verb that we use to say, add your voice to the conversation. So I'm basically saying you can participate and say things. If I say, feel free to chime in. Chime is a type of bell, kind of, that makes a sound. Like the people that have outside of their houses these metal rods that in the wind blow and go ting, 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 ting. Those are wind chimes. Okay, so my first question to everyone is, you walk into a bakery at Christmas time. Describe the smells and atmosphere. So imagine if you do not celebrate Christmas, or in your country it's not usual to celebrate Christmas, you can think of walking into a bakery at a different time. You walk into a bakery at Christmas time. What does it smell like, and how is the atmosphere? What can we say? You feel the red wine. Okay. Like the smell of red wine, or you drank a lot of red wine and you are feeling the red wine? I think both work in this situation. There's a bakery close to my house, and I always smell the fresh bread every day. But I think during Christmas time they have other things that they sell in addition to the bread, like other baked goods and sweets that you can enjoy. And once they even gave me a free cookie when I bought some bread. Latte and coffee. Okay, so you smell lattes and coffee. That's nice. That's a good smell. How would you guys describe the smell of lattes and coffee? I feel that coffee has kind of like an earthy smell. It's difficult to put into words, the smell of coffee. It's very fragrant. It's strong. It's kind of makes you feel more awake when you smell the smell of coffee. But it's difficult to put into words. We can say it has notes of cocoa, notes of cinnamon, smoked. Yes, something could have a smoked smell if it smells like it's charred. Roasty and chocolatey. I like these adjectives. And what Ali did here is a really good tip. In English, when we want to make an adjective from a noun, one very common way to do this is adding a Y to the end of the word. So we can say that something is cinnamony, chocolatey, roasty, lemony. So a very common way to turn a noun into an adjective is adding a Y on the end of it, especially when it's related to smells and tastes. I can see a lot of Christmas decoration like Weihnachtsmänner and a lot of fake snow everywhere. And it smells for speculatius. Is speculatius, that is like the type of cookies? Because there's like speculous cookies. I think that I've had these before. They're like brown cookies. Weihnachtsmänner. Weihnachtsmänner. That would be like Knightsmen. Is it like Santa Claus figurines? Flavored. Yeah, okay, if you are a Muslim, we can also use words to describe our holidays. So you can think of if there's a different time of year, maybe another topic that will make more sense to everyone if you celebrate different holidays is this one. So you can replace Christmas for any holiday that you celebrate. You walk into a family home on this holiday. Describe the smells and atmosphere. So what are you smelling and how is the atmosphere if you go into a family home for the holidays or on Christmas? I'll give an example. Maybe in my family, my grandmother, she's not a really big chef, but she specifically would make these peanut butter cookies. And so if you go into her house the day before Christmas, she was always making a lot of peanut butter cookies. And she makes the peanut butter cookies and then there's a candy called a chocolate kiss, and she sticks the chocolate kiss in the middle of the cookie while it's still warm. And so it gets stuck in there. And that was like her signature cookie, which she doesn't really make anymore, but now my sister makes them instead. But it was inspired by the cookies that my grandmother made. A very warm atmosphere. Okay, nice. Warm is a good word. It can be literally that you feel warm somewhere, but it can also be that something feels welcoming or inviting. Like, he gave me a warm welcome, or she's a very warm person. Warm can also be something that's welcoming or inviting. And these are other good words to use, welcoming, inviting. Yeah, this word merry is very common to use with the holidays and not much during other times of year. So that's a good word to use. Pastries vibes. Okay, so you have pastries everywhere. Nice. That sounds like a good holiday. If you are one of my students, we practiced this earlier, but I have here some different sensory words. Some of them refer to smell or taste. Some of them refer to texture or mouth feel. How does the food feel in the mouth? And some of them refer to atmosphere and feel, like feel of the energy and the vibes. So I want you to look at this list, and if there is a word that you recognize, you can tell me, what does this word refer to? Is savory talking about the smell, the taste, the texture, the atmosphere? And also, if there's a word that you do not know, you can ask in the chat, and perhaps myself or another person can respond and give you a tip. I'm Muslim. They have Eid. We do celebrate in the spring, and second one is the summer. So, I think it's interesting and very special that we have a lot of people that are Muslim or Christian, and so I think it's a good practice for your English because maybe other people have no idea how you celebrate Eid or how you celebrate your holidays. So you can use very specific adjectives in order to describe to the people from other countries how people celebrate your holidays. I think it's a good exercise because that's a very common situation where you need to describe to someone not from your culture, and maybe your common language is English, how your holidays are. What does your food taste like? Because if you only say, yes, this cake is sweet, maybe that's not so specific and you really want to express more about how it feels and how it tastes. Savory is about taste. Yes, exactly. Savory is about taste. And a savory taste basically just means a not sweet taste. So if you have vegetables, they are savory. If you have meat, that is savory. It's kind of like to say umami, which they say in Japan. It's not specifically salty. So in Spanish, for example, you say sweet and salty, but in English, salty means that it has salt. So if a food is not sweet, it's not always salty in English. It could be savory, meaning that it doesn't have so much salt necessarily. It could be salty or not salty, but it's not sweet. It's more like meat or vegetables taste. Tangy. Okay. Tangy is a word that means it has a sharp or acidic flavor, but in a positive way. So if something is tangy, it could be like Greek yogurt, for example, something that has a little bit of a sour taste, or like a lemon sauce. So something that's acidic or citrus or has kind of a sharp flavor that is also acidic, but it's also a positive thing if something is tangy. Rustic. Rustic is when something is, it could be like wooden, homemade, not very modern, kind of like an old wooden cabin that just feels really cozy, or part of the countryside, something that's related to the countryside or is old and homemade and not really modern and is more wooden. That would be rustic. It comes from tangerine. Ooh, probably. I think that's a really good connection to make. Let me see. I'm going to look at the etymology of tangy. Etymology. I love doing this, by the way. If you guys are ever interested in an English word, search the etymology. Okay, the word tangy comes from the noun tang, meaning a strong, sharp flavor or smell, originating in Middle English from Old Norse tanger, sharp point, tongue, or sting, from the Proto-Germanic tang, related to bite, connecting it to tongs and fangs. So tangy describes something with a piquant, zesty, or sharp taste and smell. So I think that it comes from the same common root, tangerine and tangy. It comes from this word tang. Like if something has tang, it is tangy. Maybe the tango, the dance, also has a similar... It's not really like hot, it's more sour. The citrus fruit is tangy. Rustic potatoes. Yeah, true. There is a type of potato called rustic potatoes. Okay, what about, does anyone know this word tender? What does it mean if I have meat, for example, that is tender? Does anyone have an idea what that means if something is tender? The word tender has multiple meanings, actually. If a person is tender or tender-hearted, it's like a very gentle, kind person. But related to food, it's not exactly fluffy, but it is another type of soft. So we have multiple, like soft is the general category, and then inside this category of soft, we have more specific words. Tender is, for example, when you have some meat that is not completely soft, like it just evaporates, but it is soft when you bite it and easy to chew. That is tender. So it's a very positive quality when used with meat. Also, like if you have warm, fresh bread, that is tender. It's not completely smooth, but it's a type of soft for solid things. Tender is like a soft but solid thing. And the other one, fluffy, is more like when you have a piece of cake and your cake can be dense, like you bite into it and it's very dense. All of the substance is concentrated into one place. But if it has more air and is more light when you bite in, that is fluffy. So I would use fluffy more in the way of cakes and things that you want to have air in them, and then tender more for something like meat or pasta. Yes, like if you have al dente pasta or pasta that's not like overcooked, that could also be tender as well. Yes, soft but solid thing and easy to chew, exactly. The opposite of tender could be tough. So if you are at family dinner and someone really overcooks the meat, you could have tough meat versus tender meat. So like, oh, this is really tough and hard to chew. In India, there are tender coconuts. Okay. I've heard good things about the fruits in India, actually, like the mangoes. Festive is related to a celebration or party or holiday. So if you go to a market on Christmas or a holiday and it's festive, it's like there are a lot of decorations and people are very happy. It feels like a party or celebration if something is festive. You could say, for example, my outfit today with the reindeer antlers and the, I don't know what this is, the tinsel. This is called tinsel. And the tinsel is festive. Cozy is like comfortable, exactly. It's kind of this feeling of like warm and comfortable. Okay, using this vocabulary, we're going to continue with the same words. I would like for you to think of a holiday memory. So, tell us about a holiday memory, including what you tasted, smelled, and felt. Remember to use the past. So, maybe I'll read all the words so that you guys can have the pronunciation too. In the first column, we have words related to taste and smell also. Savory, tangy, buttery, which could also be related to texture if something has the texture of butter as well. Creamy, spicy, aromatic, earthy. Then we have words related to just the texture. Velvety, crunchy, chewy, tender. And on the right, we have words related more to atmosphere or feeling. Festive, rustic, warm, lively, nostalgic, cozy. So I want you to think of what is a sentence that you could make referring to a holiday memory of any holiday that you celebrate, and use any of the words here to talk about your holiday memory. On holidays, spending times with family and ate chicken tender together. Nice. I would change the word order with chicken and tender and say, and ate tender chicken together. So putting the adjective first. I could say, for example, the last time I went to the United States, I cooked a lot of food and we had an aromatic meal with a velvety chocolate dessert, and it was very lively when I heard all of my family members talking a lot. I love the smell of the air when just getting out of the airplane on a beach. The air is welcoming and salty. Yeah. For the beach, you could say at a beach, just talking about the location in general, and then on if you are on the sand. So maybe I would say just getting off of the airplane at a beach would be the best one in this case. Most of these words are new for me. Yeah, part of the reason I chose these specific words was because I thought that they're more specific. So a lot of us, this is an important thing when we are going from B1 to B2 or B2 to C1. A lot of us, if I ask you about your family holiday, will say something a little bit more simple, like the good food, the sweet food, the fun holiday, but these words are more advanced because they're getting more specific to be able to better reflect what you really want to say. In my childhood, I liked the tender consistency of the meat that my mother prepared. This Christmas, we'll order Indian food. Ooh, what's your Indian food order? That sounds like a good meal for Christmas. Because it's very warm, aromatic, spicy. The soup for this Christmas has to be creamy and hearty. Yeah, hearty is a good word. It's like filling but not in an unhealthy way. It's kind of like filling, but in a restorative way, like good for your heart. On my holiday, I watch nostalgic movies. Okay. That's also, I feel that a lot of nostalgia comes up during the holidays. A lot of us have our favorite movies. Mine is A Muppet's Christmas Carol. I think people's examples so far have been really good examples of some of these words. And some of them we can kind of get from the word itself. Like, for example, buttery is that if you know the word butter, if something tastes buttery, it means that it tastes like butter. If something is creamy, it has a nice texture, like the texture of cream. Something, if you know the word earth, if something is earthy, it kind of tastes like the earth. It tastes like dirt. Or like, for example, potatoes are earthy, or the vegetable beets are earthy. They taste like they are from the earth. Bland is a word that means that there is no flavor. Yeah, that's not a good thing if the food is bland. Homesick. Maybe some people feel homesick this year also, especially if you are living in a new country. We'll order Indian food because my mother has problems with her denture. Okay. Yeah. So it's softer versus, yeah, you need something that's creamy and not something that's chewy because she won't be able to chew it. Lively means that you have a lot of life, like people are talking, singing, dancing. There's a lot of energy. It feels very alive. That is lively. So I think even if some of these words look new, there are probably some where you actually know a related word. We change foods each year. Okay. That's nice. I kind of like that. I know sometimes it's good to have your traditions, but I also like to switch it up a lot when it comes to what I eat, so I understand that too. Okay, I have a little exercise for us to do, which is using earthy means that something has the smell or flavor of the earth. For example, potatoes come from the earth, come from the ground, and so they have kind of a smell of dirt to them. Same thing with the vegetable beets, and same thing with like when it rains and then you smell the earth after, that is an earthy smell. On Christmas, we are still deciding. We told my neighbors, I have some neighbors that own a pizza shop, and one of them is from Venezuela and one of them is from Chile. And we told them we wanted to try to make some food from the United States to share, but we never found some ingredients that we needed. So I think today with my husband, we're going to see if we can find a can of pumpkin to make pumpkin pie, and also probably baked mac and cheese, and then some kind of protein, but we will maybe do a vegetarian meal. So we have tofu, or I don't know, I think we'll probably do like a vegetarian Christmas. Because we are flexitarians. We sometimes eat meat, but we eat mostly plant-based. Here, I have some different sentence frames. I want you to describe a traditional holiday dish from your country, and then a place you go on Christmas using these sentence frames. So to talk about a traditional holiday dish, you can say, for example, the pumpkin pie. It smells spicy like cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves. The taste is sweet and rich with a hint of fruitiness from the pumpkin. The texture feels buttery and creamy when you eat it. The atmosphere when I go to Christmas at my grandmother's house is lively and festive and nostalgic. It reminds me of my holidays as a child because we used to have the whole family together in one place, and we would take family holiday pictures together. Tofu is your favorite. You're from Japan. Nice. Yeah, I love tofu. Now I've started to eat the raw silken tofu covered in sauce, and that is delicious. Before I was only cooking the tofu, but now I eat it that way and it's so good. I would like to prepare cookies, but I don't know how. Okay, you should prepare cookies. I think of all of the baked goods, cookies are the easiest, like the most forgiving. I would just follow a recipe exactly and maybe put your dough in the refrigerator for a little bit so it gets more firm, and then make it into balls and bake it. Bake the cookies less than you think. Like, bake them until they look okay, just not raw anymore, and then if you leave them sitting, they will get firmer on their own. So that's a good tip, is to try to not over bake the cookies. Try to bake them until they're just golden, and they will be able to, when you let them cool, they'll be able to get like firm on their own. I feel like that helped me a lot to have good texture to my cookies. Remind is the same as recall. Okay, so when we're thinking of remind and recall, if something reminds me, the subject of that sentence is the object. So I recall having a pen. It's like I remember. I recall that I had a pen. But the pen reminds me of my school days. So When we use this word remind, it's that the object is giving us the memory. So the subject of the sentence is the object that is giving us this memory. So I remember, but it reminds me of something. Hello, welcome. Do you see Christmas religiously? Okay, wait, let me go in order. How would you describe the flavor of cinnamon? I would say cinnamon to me has like an aromatic, spicy, kind of earthy flavor because it does have that, especially cinnamon sticks, it does have that like woody smell. So I would say kind of woody, earthy, spicy, aromatic. What is the taste of couscous, Moroccan food? Does anyone here from Morocco have an answer to this? How can you describe the taste of Moroccan food? Do you see Christmas religiously? I went to like church growing up on New Year or on Christmas Eve, and I enjoyed like singing the music and like the festive atmosphere, but I do not personally celebrate in a religious way. But I liked the feeling of singing the songs. And also in my church we would light candles, and I liked that activity also. I love German Christmas markets. Ooh, I hope one day to go to a German Christmas market. That would be awesome. On Christmas, the atmosphere, yeah, you can put a comma after on Christmas, comma, the atmosphere was always a bit excited, festive, and nostalgic. Mostly because I wanted to know which presents awaited me. Same. I also was very curious. As a child, I was always tempted to sneak and see, but I didn't. But I was tempted to. Christmas carols. Yeah, so people that sing songs. Delicious, and we eat it every Friday. Couscous. Yeah, I have prepared couscous. I think it is really good when I've prepared it. It has kind of like tender, I would say a tender texture, and kind of buttery as well. But I'm not sure, like I think probably the way that you prepare it in Morocco, I'm sure you use like specific spices. So I'm not sure if you have a way to describe what kind of spices you use with the couscous, because I don't know if I'm not probably making the authentic Moroccan preparation. When I make it, it's just my invented recipe. Let me see. When to use commas. There are different rules with when to use commas. In this specific situation, it would be after an introductory phrase. So introduction words, phrases, or clauses like after the movie, comma, we went for ice cream. So when you're kind of like when you're adding information to the beginning to give the specific situation, you can use a comma. That might be better for a whole separate video because there are several situations when you should use commas. And in some situations it's flexible, like you could use one or not use one. But I'm gonna go now to another thing. Okay, so I have here a very boring story. Wah wah. It's correct English, yes, but it's not very specific. How would you describe mote con huesillos? Chilean boba. I would say mote con huesillo is a very sweet, I would say sweet and syrupy beverage that has a fruity taste, and inside you can find tender grains called mote, which are kind of like the texture of, it's not really like rice or quinoa, but it's another type of grain, maybe more like bulgur, and it falls apart when you bite into it. The mote itself doesn't have, it's kind of more like a starchy or grain flavor, but most of the flavor is coming from the syrupy sweet liquid. I need a comma class. Yeah, because also in German they use commas in a very specific way. So I think that it's different in English. It would be a good thing to. I need to make you guys a comma video because I will need to think of all of the situations in order to give it in a way that is digestible for students. Eloquent. Eloquent is more like if someone is well spoken. So use better describing words to make the story sound more like well worded or well spoken. Like a person who is very good with words made the story. The basic story that I have here is I went home for the holidays. It was nice. I had good food. The chicken that my grandma made was so delicious. I had fun with my family. Now, if you say this, it is correct. Yes, this is good grammar. But I think the problem for a lot of English learners is that they can say, like in your native language, you have so much more specific vocabulary compared to in the language that you learned. So sometimes it feels like I can't say or describe things exactly how I want. So it's a good practice if you have a very basic explanation to think, okay, how can I improve this explanation? So does anyone have an idea for what is an upgrade that you can make to this story? What is a way that we can change it to make it more interesting, more specific? One common thing that we can do is add something like a relative clause. For example, I had good food, which my grandma had made for me the night before. So we can add more information with words like which or who, when. That's one way that we can add more information. I had fun with my family, which was rare because it's not very common for us to all get together in one place, right? So I can have the basic sentence, but I can add more details to it. Another thing we can do is add the adjectives that we were practicing earlier. So, okay, I had good food, but maybe describe specifically what was the good food. Was it tangy? Was it tender? What was the good food that you had? So those are some ways that I think. Another thing that you can do is adding connectors like despite, although, however. So does anyone have an idea for what is an interesting sentence that you can include in this story or change from the story? I went home for Christmas last year. It was such a good time we had together. The chicken that my grandma made was so tasty because it was so tender. I had great days that reminded me of my childhood. Nice. That is a much more specific way to describe it, right? So with the first story, I went home for the holidays, it was nice, I had good food, the chicken was good, I had fun. It's fine, but it's really not as specific with like, okay, how was the holiday for this person? But if we say something like, the chicken that my grandma made was so tasty because it was so tender, I understand, oh, okay, we're not talking about a special sauce. We're not talking about the chicken was wrapped in bacon. We're talking about the texture of the chicken was really good, so it was well cooked. So that can help us describe things a little more closely to how we would describe them in our native language. Does anyone else have an idea for how we can make this story more interesting? And I think this is a really good strategy if anyone wants to get better at writing in English. I recommend write something really basic and then add more detail after. I think sometimes we feel this pressure before writing a story or before writing in a journal that you have to write everything perfectly the first time around, but that adds a lot of pressure because we are filtering our ideas. And it's really helpful when writing and also when speaking to not filter your ideas so much. Just say whatever comes to mind and then improve it afterwards. Holidays are part of my identity. That's why I stay at home rather than traveling or going out. I tried the most terrific food you could ever think of. The chicken prepared by her was perfectly cooked. Okay, that's really good. So it's also helpful to talk about what is your attitude surrounding the holidays. We all have such different perspectives around the holidays. I think there are a lot of things we share. So we all have in our different countries, in our cultures, the idea of holidays, family, food, but people have different relationships to holidays. Some people prioritize the holiday for their family. Other people don't have family. Other people feel more nostalgic. So I think it's a good exercise to be able to put that into words. Yeah, I would say also a lot of us, I mean, in my case, I live in a different country from my family. A couple years ago, I did have a family Christmas, I think it was 3 years ago, with my family. Now I have new traditions with my husband. It depends on you and your culture. I love this exercise. I am pretty fluent at English, but I love your content and I want to keep learning. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's something where like we always, even if you guys have a lot of fluency, it's always a good exercise to challenge yourself to say more or talk about things that you don't normally talk about. I think that's always a good exercise. I'm gonna show you, I have here these. I got these stockings and I got some things to put in the stockings for me and my husband. He has never done Christmas stockings before. This year we decided that he's getting us presents and I'm getting us stockings. So that's how we're dividing the Christmas this year. I went home for the holidays. Everything was cozy. We tasted delicious food. The chicken that my grandma prepared was so sweet. We had lively fun with my relatives. Nice. Is her chicken sweet because of a sauce? Like a sweet sauce that she puts on it? I like this phrase, we had lively fun with my relatives. Yeah, I think maybe later I'll make a video putting things inside the stocking. But I need to get more chocolates because it's normal that we put we call them stocking stuffers to put different items, little items inside. I don't think that he's playing tennis right now, so I can show you guys some of the stocking stuffers. I got him some socks. We both like to draw, so I got some pens for drawing. Also, he likes these cards. So I got Magic the Gathering cards for their avatar theme. Yeah. And what else? Oh, I thought this was cute. I got this too. Yeah, it's common to put like really small. These are things that I'm putting inside of this stocking for my husband, together with some chocolates. So the idea with the stocking is it's not like one big present, it's like little cute things and chocolates. But I tried to get only like things that were more useful. Like he actually uses pens and socks, and then these he loves, so that was a good present, I think. And this one is not useful, but it's really cute, and I think he will put it on his desk. I'm curious, people here from Japan, do you eat Kentucky Fried Chicken on Christmas? I saw that that's a tradition that you have in Japan, is that people eat KFC on Christmas. Like people in Japan, it's common to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. Can anyone here confirm or deny that this is a real thing that happens? When do you look into the socks? Yeah, I guess it's not unwrap, it's like take out the stuff from the stockings. In the United States, on the morning of the 25th. The idea is like the night before Santa Claus left some things inside of the stocking. Yeah. But I also got some nice chocolates, but I want to get also some other chocolates because I want to make it more full. I want the stocking to be like full of things, but not like expensive things, but just like chocolates. Yeah, you can hang it. It actually has, I don't have a chimney, so I need to find a place to hang it, but it has like a little loop here that I can use to hang the stocking. So, yeah, these are called stocking stuffers. I got these pens too that are like more colorful, because he likes to draw with pens. Eating KFC is not for all Japanese. Okay, so it's not like, but it is a tradition, or it is like, there are people that do it, but not everyone. We eat KFC on Christmas in Japan. They are popular here. Okay, that's so interesting. I love that. It's very unique. I think that's like a very unique tradition. Nice. Have you ever had birds? Like as a pet? No. My cousins had a bird. It was a parakeet named Rainbow. Who else had a bird that I knew? I used to have a student that had birds. KFC is a food chain. It's a fast food chain. Kentucky Fried Chicken, where they sell fried chicken. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of KFC. It's Christmas. Do you have some sweets? Yes. I think we're going to have chocolates when we open our stockings. They will have chocolates inside. And we also might make a pumpkin pie to share with my neighbors, but it depends on if we find a can of pumpkin, because it's not the type of pumpkin that you use for pumpkin pie is not native to Chile, where I live now. So we have to go to the import store and see if they have cans of this specific type of pumpkin. Because when we tried to use the Chilean pumpkin, it didn't really taste the same. It was kind of like, this type of pumpkin is called, I think, a sugar pumpkin, and it is like sweeter and more concentrated in flavor. There's a pumpkin here, but it is a little bit like more vegetable tasting and less like that starchy taste. So it's a better result when we can find the canned pumpkin, but we'll see. I've learned that tender is also related to meat. I'm from Uzbekistan. New words: loop, stocking stuffers. Okay. What does stocking mean? This is a stocking. Actually, there are two. So, stockings are ones that you wear on your whole legs. Like, these are stockings. Let me show you. Like, when people wear these, they're the ones that you wear on your whole leg. Yeah, like this. Those are stockings, but we also call these stockings. Yeah, I think stockings and pantyhose, honestly, I don't know the difference. Personally, I think that I use the word, and I hear people my age use the word stockings a lot more. I think pantyhose sounds kind of like an older word, but I don't know if there's a difference between stockings and pantyhose, to be honest. All right, I am going to go continue with my day. I have to prepare some things, but thank you everyone for joining. I know that these were a lot of new words for people, so keep practicing them, and maybe think of, as like a little homework assignment, how can you describe a holiday to a person that you know, or a person from a different country? How can you describe your holiday celebration to them? Yeah, have a nice day. Okay, I am probably actually going to put up, I have a fake tree, so I think we're going to put up the fake tree. Maybe I'll put this somewhere. It's kind of itching my neck. All right, have a good rest of your Saturday, everyone, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Merry early Christmas.